Hey everybody, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Julien Baressi and his company he found with Rose Mendonca, Theoretical Productions. Check their work and hope you guys like it. Hey everybody, this is George Saldana and this is a new edition to Movie Mondays. We're here live in Sacramento, California. Shout out to all the big and small states here in the USA and all the countries around the world. Movie Mondays. This podcast is strictly for any movies, stop motion, animation, etc. You name it, and we just talk about it. Here with me today is Julien Baressi.
Hello.
All right. What's up, Julien?
Hey, what's up?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to be here.
Sweet. Today is one that this film because you're a big fan of this, but I don't know about this film.
Well, not this film specifically, but of this franchise, yes. Yeah.
Yes. This is Godzilla 1998.
Yes, correct.
So to get started, where were you and what do you remember about this film when you first saw this?
Oh, because when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because the funny thing about that, because it came out in 1998, I was 5 at the time. But I do remember a little bit because I had just moved to America at the time. And this was like probably one of the first movies I ever saw in America with my dad. He's the one who took me to it. And I remember a bit of the buzz going on before it came out. Like they were showing all the old Godzilla movies on TV and stuff. But I just remember going to see it. Well, a little bit remembering like, oh man, it's like this big action monster movie, and I think I had a good time. Again, it was a long time ago, so
yeah. Well, before I got to see the movie, I remember mostly because of Taco Bell. Mm-hmm. Taco Bell heavily sponsored this film, and this is when I didn't like Taco Bell. I did not like Taco Bell until 2004. But during this time, I knew Taco Bell was like really good because of Godzilla and. That's my childhood. That's how I remember it.
Yeah. Those commercials are super famous. Like the one where the little chihuahua's like, "Here, lizard."
Yeah.
And is trying to like get Godzilla for some reason. It has like a little trap with the box, and
yeah,
it is like, "Where's Godzilla?" You know.
Yeah. I think that's where we got some of the little action figures of Godzilla there.
Yeah, I remember they had the cups with his like face on it. You know, kind of.
Oh yeah, shaped
into the side. Yeah.
Did they also have those where you could put it was like finger puppets?
Mm-hmm.
That's the ones I have.
I had a one of the baby Godzillas.
The baby, and also have the Godzilla.
Oh, nice.
It's still in my storage.
Very cool. Yeah.
But yeah. Well, when I first saw this movie, I was in my uncle's house here in Atomas. This is when I used to live in Salinas.
Wow. So
every time I ever came to my uncle's house, we watched Godzilla, and that I didn't know about the other Godzillas. So this is my first exposure to the creature Godzilla, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I I didn't understand what they were saying because I only knew Spanish at the time, so I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. This is a good movie." But later on, I was like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah, exactly.
Now at this point, what do you know some of the background of Godzilla?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a comparison between this Godzilla from 1998 and the original Godzilla?
Well, the original Godzilla, are you talking about specifically the very first one or just the original series?
Just the original series.
So the big thing is the original series was made in Japan.
Yeah.
And it was made started in the 50s, so it's kind of rooted in like a Japanese style of filmmaking that's existed since the 50s, but in general, when Godzilla was first created, he was supposed to like embody the horrors of nuclear war, and because Japan had been nuked twice, so Godzilla meant at the beginning to he was like this nuclear warfare, radiation, nuclear weapons, all of that stuff. He was supposed to embody the horror of it, and then later on, the movies became more kid friendly, and Godzilla started fighting aliens and monsters from space, and it just became entertaining, good fun. But there was still a very fun innocence to it, versus G98 is very like disaster movie, Hollywood, big special effects, very big budget, very commercial. It came out at a time where like Armageddon, Deep Impact, Independence Day, all those movies where New York had to be blown up for some weird reason.
Yeah.
So like it's very much it's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah. During that time, it was like the height of disaster movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. What did you think of like giving Godzilla that origin of being a mutated iguana?
Well, I really liked, actually, funny enough, the origin is something I didn't have as much a problem with as everything else. Like, I liked the idea that he was created because of the French nuclear testing, because in the 90s, that was a real thing. Like, the French were still doing nuclear testing in Polynesia, and the world was getting pretty upset at them about it. And so it's like they just took the nuclear testing, creating Godzilla origin, and they just updated it. And as for the iguana, I mean, it made sense because before Godzilla had been a mutated dinosaur, and it's like, that's, if you wanted to make it more realistic, you would take an actual existing lizard and then have them become mutated. So the origin made sense, I think, and I liked that about it. I didn't have a problem with it. Obviously, it's the rest of the film.
Yeah. So let's talk about the human characters here. Matthew Broderick. I can't say his last name.
Oh,
Catatopoulos.
It's a stupid joke. Yeah. The Tatatopoulos or whatever.
Yeah. What do you think of that character throughout the movie?
Yeah, well, he's definitely the first scene you see him in. Kind of like the movie starts to already go downhill for me. He's supposed to be the poor comedic relief. I mean, he's the cliche dorky scientist guy who's gonna save the day, but he's like, he's not useful in terms of like he can't kill anything, but he's the one who knows everything, and he's the one who's gonna understand the monster and find a way to stop it and whatever.
It's always funny in the movie, like the army is like, oh, what are we gonna do? We have no idea. And he's like, oh, maybe this Godzilla is actually an iguana, and it, like, explains everything, like he knows the answers. And all these scientists in the military are like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like iguanas laying eggs. What? Iguana eating fish. What? Like, because like, okay, I'm pretty sure you know this thing's an iguana. You wouldn't, you can look up, in a book what an iguana does, and then you would know exactly what to do. Yeah, you're right. No, he seems to always have the answers, and they're like, huh? It eats fish? Why would it do that?
Yeah. What did you think? I don't know. When they introduced this character, it sort of fascinates me, like him playing, like testing worms. It's so random to me, but I'm so fascinated how they shot that film. Like, it was pouring rain, and always love a scene when it's pouring rain and they're doing nonsense, just like that. He's just like worms coming out, and then he's using some type of technology, and then that.
Well, I did like, actually, the one neat thing about that scene is that it's set in Chernobyl, which was like another real nuclear disaster area. So they're kind of sticking to the nuclear radiation theme, which I liked about that. And what he said was that, like, the worms are mutated because of the disaster that went down. So that part of it I liked.
Yeah,
I agree with you. That was kind of cool, and it was a good way of introducing, like, this guy knows something about mutated animals.
Yeah.
I don't really know what was so special about the worms themselves. Like,
Yeah.
They didn't look any different. He's like, oh, these worms are like, I don't remember what he says. They're like 9 inches bigger. I'm like, they just look like worms to me.
I mean, I think there's bigger worms out there in real life. So.
Exactly. I didn't know what was so special about the worms, but
yeah,
the idea behind it was interesting, I guess. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because he's not. It's weird and refreshing at the same time that he's not in every single scene, just like giving exposition. Sometimes he's just there and he's listening to everybody else talk, and that to me, I think that's sort of refreshing to a main character.
Yeah. Well, I'd agree with you because thankfully, they let other characters also have a big part of the movie. The probably like Jean Reno. We're probably going to talk about him in a second, but thankfully they gave him a good enough screen time to balance out Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because there's the other character too, like the chick Audrey or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's get to Audrey for a sec. So
oh, God.
She was just eye candy. That's it.
And Yeah. Yeah.
She was like the eye candy backstabber, and then she felt bad about it.
And like again, and I was just complaining about how when you introduce Matthew Broderick, the movie starts to go downhill. But for me, it really starts to get worse when they introduce Audrey and her little New York friend, like Hank Azaria and the redhead. I don't remember her name, but they bring in the like she wants to be a reporter, but all she is the assistant for the anchor, and he just treats her like she's just a cute chick to have as secretary, but she really wants to make it as a reporter.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cliche of like, oh, I don't know. She's willing to do anything to get to the top, even if it means screwing over the guy she likes. I don't know. There's nothing, like you said, really likable about her. She's bland. She's cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice that where she worked, it's like three actors there were actually voices of The Simpsons?
Oh, yeah. There's like a running thing about that. Like, oh, so many people who worked on this movie worked on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I don't know how that ended up happening. Maybe they just needed work.
Yeah.
Or something, like in between seasons.
Yeah, I think so too.
And they put him in this movie.
Like the voice of Bart Simpson, the voice of Moe and the other characters, and then Ken Brockman.
Yeah.
He played the anchor guy conveniently. It's like coincidence.
Well, and I think they you can kind of tell they wanted the news people, I guess, for some reason to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone who's there is like comedic. Even the main anchor dude, he's kind of like his performance is a little silly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's serious, but he's like, like that one scene where Godzilla's like coming through the window.
Yeah.
And his secretary's like, "Sir, you got to see this," and he turns around and goes, "What? There's nothing there," because conveniently at that next second, the giant Godzilla isn't at the window.
Yeah.
I mean, but like even then he's like, "What?" I don't know. There's just something silly about the news people, but I don't understand why you think they'd be serious.
And they had a Barney show going on at the same time.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of like little hidden things on television throughout the movie that the filmmakers thought would be like, I don't know, neat to throw in at the same time.
I mean, like watching it, I was like, now, like I just recently watched it again, and I was like, why are news people watching Barney? Why?
Yeah, because they thought, oh, it'd be so. Look, it's a dinosaur, and then there's a dinosaur attacking the city. Well, it's a lizard, but
yeah. What do you think of the supporting cast? I know his name, the French actor.
Jean Reno.
Yeah, Jean Reno.
Yeah, like he's for me what saves this movie.
Yeah.
Like he is, like his first scene when he talks to the old Japanese guy. I thought it was super silly that like he pulls out a lighter and he says, "What did you see, old man?"
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of badass. Like it was silly, but it was badass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's a good actor to begin with.
Yeah.
And he played the role. I mean, he just had to be a French guy, so it wasn't too hard for him. But he brought, I don't know, because he's like a secret agent. He's not like the military people. The military people like blow up Godzilla and this and that. He's more covert. He's like kind of trying to sneak his way around.
Secret police.
Yeah, well, he's pretending to be like an insurance agent the whole time, which is pretty funny.
I love that scene where one of his friends come up to the truck and he has like donuts. And
Yeah.
Croissant? No. He's like, okay.
Yeah, there's another scene where he's like, Jean Reno takes a sip of coffee and he's like, "Oh, I thought you said this was French roast." And then the other guy's like, "Oui." And he points to the cup and it says French roast. "Oui, c'est French roast." And like,
you call this coffee?
Yeah.
I call this America.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love those characters. I think one of them die, huh? One of them gets eaten.
The French guys?
Yeah.
Dude, like most of them die.
Yeah.
But baby Godzillas eat most of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were pretty. I mean, they were silly. Like, they were the most French, like you said, most Frenchiest French guys ever. French roast and croissants. And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they were great to watch.
Well, they were interesting. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like the military people were so bland compared to them.
Yeah. I felt like they knew what they were doing, while the army.
Exactly. The army kept blowing up New York.
Yeah. Putting fish in the streets.
Exactly.
Oh my god. But yeah. What else? Another supporting cast who played Hank Azaria.
Mm-hmm.
Victor.
Victor, yeah. Victor,
you
can't
asshole.
I can't do her accent, but yeah.
Yeah. I liked Victor.
He's probably of the news people. He's more interesting than Audrey.
Yeah.
And like, he had balls going after Godzilla
Yeah.
to get the footage, and he's the one who pushes Audrey to go find the nest later. I mean, he's got more charisma, he's got more drive than Audrey.
Yeah.
He's more interesting. I don't know. I almost feel like he should have taken more of a role than Audrey because he was more interesting.
Yeah. I guess he got what he got and then ran with it. Just made it as interesting as he could.
I felt bad for him at the end because Jean Reno destroyed or stole his tape.
Yeah. That's like the part.
Yeah. All that hard work, the story of the year probably is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you like the mayor in the film?
Oh, the mayor. Well, did you know like what the joke was behind that? Between like the mayor and his assistant. So you ever heard of like Gene and Siskel?
Yes.
The two critics.
Oh my god.
So those two critics, right, Gene and Siskel, they hated on I think Independence Day. So in order to get back at them, the filmmakers decided to make the mayor and his assistant look a lot like them.
Dude, I did not know that.
And so the whole time it's supposed to be making fun of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it again, dude.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy.
If you see it now, you're like, oh, it is them. It totally is them. Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay.
But I thought they were it's pretty useless characters.
Yeah.
They're just in there just to make fun of the critics.
Oh my god. No. Okay. Now I see it differently. Interesting. Let's see. What about the general?
It's funny now because like all I think of him now is the dad from Transformers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, he kind of the whole military is useless, but I feel like he's kind of trying. But at the same time, like he seems like he's smart, but then
he gets outsmarted by Matthew Broderick's character.
Yeah, exactly. It is like, come on, dude. Like you don't have. First of all, why would you even let a lizard this big get close to New York?
Yeah.
Just hit it with submarines. Like, how do you lose a lizard that big in New York?
Yeah.
I don't mean if it digs underground, what you can't like track that? Come on, you can't feel earthquakes. Like I don't. Every time Godzilla would disappear or get away, I'd be like, come on, really?
Did you like the effects of this film? Well, I'll say all of them, just in total. Like,
it's funny actually that you asked that because even though there's a lot of CGI in the movie, there's actually a lot of practical effects still because it was still at the time they would do that. And I feel like the practical effects in this movie still look good. Like there's some shots of Godzilla where it's not CGI. It's like I don't know if it's like an animatronic or a suit or something. Those still look good to this day. Like some of the buildings getting blown up. I think the worst part of the visual effects is the CGI.
Yeah.
That's the part that looks the worst. Like, and the scenes were like the helicopters flying, if you notice.
Yeah.
It's so silly. There's too many helicopters flying in between buildings. Like, that would not be physically possible.
Or that would be pretty dumb. They wouldn't do that.
Exactly. I did think the submarine scene looked cool.
Yeah.
I think apparently the filmmakers had the rain going on in New York the whole time because that way you couldn't really see Godzilla that well.
Oh, okay.
To kind of cover up the bad CGI.
Oh, wow. Smart in their part. That's
Exactly.
pretty smart. Yeah.
I thought the baby Godzillas looked pretty cool too. I thought because like they had to get up close to people, so I thought some of the like animatronics for them were done well.
Speaking of that, like I don't know too much about the past ones as much as you do, but like, was there any baby Godzillas in the other versions?
Yeah, I mean, baby Godzilla has happened before. The first time, actually, both times, baby Godzilla was like Godzilla didn't have a kid with a female Godzilla.
Okay.
He found like an egg on an island and outsprouted it. So he's like an adopted Godzilla,
Okay.
so to speak. And he kind of like the first time, he's this weird looking, pale, little blobby looking guy. He looks really silly. His name is Minya, and he can barely breathe fire. He blows out smoke rings.
Yeah.
And so Godzilla's like his mentor, you could say. He protects him.
Were you disappointed Godzilla didn't fight another monster?
Well, I mean, I can't like as a kid. Obviously, I hadn't really seen as many, so I couldn't say I was disappointed. I didn't mind so much that it was like a single Godzilla movie. And I think what they tried to do to instead of having another monster, that's why they had the baby Godzillas to kind of be the second monster. And I don't know if the movie would have benefited that much from having another monster in it. So I wasn't too disappointed. about it.
Mm. Yeah, me neither. I like that the central point was just Godzilla and him destroying the city.
Yeah.
Or I don't say destroying the city. He's trying to live there.
Yeah, exactly. Just have a nest.
Yeah. And then of course the American version is like really trying to adapt that Japanese feel. Like Godzilla is just a misunderstood monster.
A little bit. Yeah, it's very much. They tried to turn him from like what I said before, like being like the embodiment of nuclear radiation and weapons and the threat of that, to he's a big animal just kind of lost in our modern world, first of his kind, his or her kind or its kind, and it's just trying to lay eggs, right? It doesn't mean to kill people, kind of a thing. Which, yeah, I mean, I get that. And then, ironically enough, they just end up killing it at the end.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're supposed to feel bad for Godzilla, but I never really did that much. I don't know.
Let's see. Can you tell us about that video we just saw probably an hour ago about
the Final Wars?
like when when Japan got the rights.
So, okay, well, first to start there, after the Godzilla is owned by a production company called Toho, has been since it started. So after this movie came out, Toho got the rights to the American Godzilla as like a literal, they have the copyright to it, even though Sony's the one who made the movie, and they renamed it Zilla because they said it wasn't worthy of the name Godzilla. Then in 2004, they released a movie for the 50th anniversary of Godzilla called Godzilla Final Wars, and there's a short scene where Zilla attacks Sydney, and the original Japanese Godzilla comes in and basically kicks Zilla's ass and kills him in like less than a minute.
I said it was justice, but
yeah, it was. I mean, they planned the whole time to kind of I think a big part of that is like because some people still don't realize the difference between the two. So I think, or at the time they didn't, like, so they wanted to really show people, no, this is the original Japanese Godzilla. This is how he's supposed to act, not this iguana.
Aside from this film, how many times has Godzilla died?
Okay, so let's see. There's the original, and then he dies in 1995 in another Japanese film. So he died twice.
Twice. Before this film.
Actually, yeah, it is before this film. Yeah, he hasn't died. There's one movie where he dies, but like it's kind of stupid. His heart is still beating, so I don't know if he counts as alive.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because
it's the movie ends with like he almost like looks like he's still alive, but they pretty much blew him up. I don't know.
The heck. Okay. So what do you think of the story? The story in general of the film?
I mean, it's. I guess it's kind of like a generic monster movie. Monster is being spotted around the world. Monster attacks city. Army tries to stop monster. Army fails, and then Army finally beats monster, and then oh no, monster has eggs. They destroy eggs, kill monster. I mean, it's very much like a generic kind of a monster movie, like those 50s monster movies, where there's a thread, and at the end of the day, the Army saves the day. It's nothing too original. I guess the nest is kind of original. And I guess I kind of like the fact that, I don't know if people believe this, but like, you know, after the submarines attack Godzilla, you're supposed to think he's dead, but then he comes back at the end. I kind of like that, but I mean, I'm pretty sure people are thinking like, okay, this movie's not over yet. Godzilla has to probably still be alive. You couldn't have just ended the movie with the eggs. You had to have Godzilla come back one last time.
Yeah, I was fine with the story. Like I said, I watched it before. It's like it's as an adult now, I enjoy the film more.
Yeah, I think for a lot of Godzilla fans, it's like it's a pretty decent giant monster movie. You know, it's not a good Godzilla movie at all. It's not even a real Godzilla movie, honestly. But as a monster movie, yeah, it's not bad. It's a lot like, again, like those 50s B movies.
Yeah. Let me give you a little. I don't know if you know about this, but originally there was original plans for this film to have another sequel, 2 sequels. But eventually, since it was poorly received, they scrapped it. Imagine that, like 2 sequels, like.
Yeah, I read the treatment for the second film.
Oh, what was it about?
So the second movie was going to be about Okay, do you remember the end, like towards the credits of G98? There's an egg. There's one last egg still alive.
That was because of that.
So that one grows up in the sequel and has kids of its own. And then there's like other mutations are coming out, and there's like this giant bugs start attacking the world.
Ah.
So it'd be kind of, this time Godzilla's the good guy and has to fight this like giant bug monster thing at the end. You know, it from the treatment, like the concept sounded cool, but I feel like the movie still would have had the same cheesy, silly characters that this movie had.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it would have been that great of a movie, but it would have been cool to see Godzilla fight another monster. So, and this time Godzilla could actually breathe fire like the original Japanese one. So that would have been cool.
Let's see. They say the extra killed in his car when Godzilla first arrives in Manhattan was a look-alike for J.D. Lee's editor of G-Fan magazine because of the cast despairing remarks about the information they leaked out about the film prior to its release.
So G-Fan magazine, I used to actually read that. G-Fan magazine, well, it used to be monthly. Now it's like every couple of months. It's like a fan magazine for the franchise. And at the time, JD and his people were not too excited about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming because, the thing is, at the time, we didn't know what the design looked like.
Okay.
Like, that was kept, not confidential, but like they didn't show it in any of the trailers. It was like out of all the teasers, they made a huge deal about not showing you what Godzilla looked like until you saw it. And so I think it was, I don't really remember, but probably they saw the final design and they just weren't happy with it.
Yeah.
And but I think that's a little silly that they made that whole little attempt to kill JD in the movie over him writing something in a fan magazine that, you know, at the time, 10 people were reading?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was that big. I think they overreacted a little bit.
Let's see. Oh, at the 1998 Razzies, the film was nominated for 5 Razzies, including Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. It took home overall for Maria Pitillo as a Worst Supporting Actress for the film as Worst Remake or Sequel.
Remake or sequel. Yeah. That's
so like we said, the actress who played Audrey.
She was probably the weakest character.
Yeah.
She didn't. I don't know if like she just didn't. I wouldn't say she didn't care, but I feel like she gave us no energy. At least, you know, Matthew Broderick wasn't great, but I feel like he was kind of trying.
Mm-hmm.
The actress didn't seem like she was. She's just like, I'm here, give me my paycheck, okay, I'm going home.
For real. Apparently there was 2,000 foam fish were created to make the pile.
That's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish. You got that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Wow, they really went to all that trouble just for the fish scene. That's funny.
Yeah. Enough lumber was used for sets to build 50 homes.
Like back then, you know, they built a lot more sets, and there's a lot of different locations in the movie. I'll give them that. You know, there's the first half hour they're moving between like French Polynesia and Jamaica, so they're kind of, and then there's like military buildings. They go underground to the nest. I mean, there's a lot of different places they go to, so I can imagine they probably built a lot of sets for it.
A lot of sets so it could explode.
Oh yeah, they just blow up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. It's like speaking of that, 35 tons of steel were used to build the sets.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably a bit of it was also used for the miniature effects too, I bet.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of buildings that they blew up, and like the Golden Gate Bridge scene, they had a whole miniature for that as well. So.
Okay. You know that we were talking about practical effects, and when they first introduced Godzilla in New York, you know, when everybody's like jumping up because of the movement of Godzilla, I was thinking, I forgot what they use, or it's something where they push something on the floor, no, up. There's like something underneath the floor, underneath the concrete, and they push it up to make it look like Godzilla.
Oh, I don't know about that. I feel like, I wonder if it's the same effect, because I know Jurassic Park, when they were trying to get in the first Jurassic Park, when they're trying to get the water to shake when the T-Rex is coming. I don't know if they use the similar effect for that, but well, I mean, if you watch that scene, all the cars are shaking, so they must have I'm guessing they put the whole street on some kind of
thing that
pushed it up and pushed it back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool that they did that. I'm sure I think there's like a whole set they built just for that street scene.
Let's see. Yeah. Overall, I like the action scenes of the baby Godzillas, and Godzilla wasn't too bad. To be honest, like as much as it's really panned, critically panned for being, CGI and what sort, I still enjoy the film.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I think it's a pretty like good giant monster movie.
Yeah.
It's not at all a good Godzilla movie, but it's like as a giant monster movie, it's enjoyable if you like Independence Day or Stargate or any of those those disaster movies. I would rather watch this than like Armageddon or Deep Impact.
I
like,
would
this
too.
This is more enjoyable.
Do you remember the Godzilla movie animated series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I've watched quite a few episodes of it because it was on Netflix for a while.
Yeah.
And that series is actually, I almost think the animated series is better than the movie. Because like it takes the idea. Well, first of all, the Godzilla in that one, even though he looks like the American Godzilla, acts a lot more like the original. He can breathe fire. He fights other monsters. He doesn't just get killed by 6 missiles.
Yeah. I remember watching that as a kid. That's also, that's after I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, cool, they're making a Godzilla animated. That was Fox Kids back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I liked how it was always the military being the problem of Godzilla, and like I think 2 people are like, oh, leave him alone and stuff.
Yeah.
And he ends up fighting all these monsters.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is cool.
Yeah, it everything about it was like what we would have wanted.
Yeah.
in the G98, and it kind of really was a lot like the original 60s movies where Godzilla's fighting aliens and monsters, and that's what was so cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty good show, which didn't last that long either.
Yeah, well, I think it was competing with like it was like a King Kong animated series at the time, and then there was like so many other cartoons. I guess it just kind of got lost.
Wasn't there ever a Godzilla vs. King Kong? I think I've seen that or heard about it.
Or there was a King Kong versus Godzilla back in the 60s. Yeah.
Who won?
Well, okay, so it ends with both of them falling in the ocean, but only King Kong gets out of the water and swims away. But, I mean, Godzilla comes back in another movie later, so we know Godzilla's still alive, but arguably King Kong won the fight.
Were you disappointed?
Oh, I thought it was... Nah, well, not really, because Godzilla's kind of the bad guy in that movie. So
oh, yeah?
You kind of want King Kong to win.
Okay. Okay, so how would you give this film?
I guess I'd rate it, I'd probably... Like, as a movie, as like a giant monster movie, I'd probably give it a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Okay.
As a Godzilla movie, I'd give it like a 0. A 0.5 out of 10.
As a film, I would give it like a C. Yeah. Around that range. Godzilla, I want to give it a D, close to a C minus, just because it didn't breathe fire.
Well, remember
Sorta.
that one scene where
he
screams and the cars explode. And I was like, that's not his fire breath, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my only disappointment with that. But overall, that was it. Yeah. That's it for Godzilla, and probably we're gonna talk about more of other Godzillas. So, thanks, Julien, for being here.
Of course, I had a pleasure. Yeah.
Nice. I learned a lot today. I learned a lot from Godzilla today. There's still a lot of things to learn about Godzilla, but that's for another day, another episode. But yeah, this is the end of Movie Mondays. See you guys soon.